So today we are making vegan shrimp dumplings, which I think should have been the recipe that I started off with when I started doing this vegan dim sum series, but alas, it is here. And I have to say that this recipe turned out so well. Like, the wrapper was perfect and translucent, and the filling was just really on point. And I did end up using vegan shrimp from the store, but guys, I actually have a vegan shrimp recipe in the works for you guys that I know should definitely help with a lot of the Asian recipes that I'm doing. But anyways, I know that you guys are really going to love this recipe because it is so close to the actual thing. I kind of even surprised myself a little bit. So I can't wait to show you guys this recipe, so let's head over to the kitchen and then let's get started. Alrighty guys, so these are the vegan prawns that I bought from the store, and I'm making 16 dumplings today, so very specific amount. I'm doing 16 pieces of shrimp, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set aside 10 and then kind of blend them up into a fine paste with 2 teaspoons of oil, and this will just provide kind of two different textures for your Har Gao shrimp dumplings. So basically right now I'm going to cut up the whole shrimp into kind of like probably like 1/2-inch chunks. I want it small enough so that it will fit into the wrapper without being, too big, but then at the same time show lumps of shrimp there, because that's, I think, a prominent feature of these shrimp dumplings. So these are bamboo shoots and they're straight out of the can, and I have about 6 tablespoons of them, and I'm just chopping them up so that they become like kind of finer pieces and so that they won't poke through when it ends up in the dumplings. So in go the shrimp paste, and I think I could have ground it up even a little bit more fine, but the shrimp paste is going to provide a nice texture because you're going to have kind of like a softer shrimp pasty background along with nice chunks of shrimp as you eat this, which is always very nice. So in go the rest of the marinade, and again, the recipe is going to be down below, but I have a little bit of rice wine, a little bit of sesame oil. This is potato starch to really bind everything together since we're not using an egg. I have some white pepper and then some garlic powder to really give a more savory feel to this. So once that's combined and you don't really see any more of the starches, you just want to put it aside for about 30 minutes so that the shrimp can soak up all of that nice flavor. So while the shrimp is marinating, we can go ahead and make these really cool starch wrappers that become translucent once you start steaming them. So I have 1 cup of wheat starch, and then in go about 1/3 of a cup of potato starch and a little bit of salt, and you just want to mix all of that together until it's nice and homogenized. A good tip for this is make sure you have a little bit of extra wheat starch or a little bit of extra potato starch, because the dough is really about feel, and most likely it might be a little bit more wet or it might be a little bit more dry, so having a little bit extra of everything is going to be really good. So I have 2/3 of a cup of water, and I want a little bit more than half of that to be boiling water. And for those of you guys who have seen my scallion pancakes recipe, the boiling water kind of denatures the starches a little bit, and you're gonna get a softer dough that way. So I'm just kind of testing it out right now and using my hands and getting a good feel for the dough, and just to see how much more water it needs. But the rest of it, I'm going to basically be using cold water and then mixing that through. So I'm just going to be adding 1 to 2 teaspoons of oil, and the oil is going to keep the wrappers nice and soft. So again, I'm using my hands to kind of squish all of the dough together just to see how much more water it needs. I mean, it's definitely on the drier side, so I'm just going to put in probably like a teaspoon of water at a time just until the dough starts coming together. So once a ball does come together, I'm actually kneading it on medium speed just for about 2 minutes, because I do think that the dough does need a little bit of work and a little bit of kneading before it can get into a nice shape. So at this stage, you can see that it is no longer sticking to my hands, and kind of the feeling that you want is that it's not sticky, but it needs to be firm enough for you when you are about to fold the wrappers, that the fold holds its shape. So at this stage, I still feel like it's definitely a little bit on the wetter side. You can see how it's like dropping and kind of forming those ice cream curls, but I'm going to work it a little bit more, and I'm basically going to put it aside. And sometimes the starches dry out a little bit more, but I know that once I start working the dough later, I'm going to be adding a little additional wheat starch or a little bit of additional potato starch as well. So I'm just going to put that aside and then let that rest for about 15 minutes or so. So I've mixed an equal mix of the wheat starch as well as the potato starch, and I've just lightly dusted the counter a little bit, and I'm making a long log and cutting this into 16 different pieces for the dumpling wrappers. And what I'm gonna do is just, vaguely roll it into a ball and then get it into a wrapper that's, I would say, about like 4 inches in diameter. And I'm using kind of like the old Chinese technique where you just roll from the center out and you just continue twisting the dough so that you basically get like a circular disc like so. So when I'm filling it out, I make sure to get some of the actual shrimp pieces as well, and it's really only about, I would say, like a teaspoon and a half or so. And the thing with shrimp dumpling wrappers that people get kind of afraid to do, you only fold one side, and I find that if you fold about 8 to 9 times, it's going to give you kind of the shape and the look that you want, okay? So notice how I'm not touching the other side at all. I'm only folding one side, and that is the front side. That's how the front side looks right now. And then basically what you do is the dough is so malleable, you press the front with the back just to seal off the dumpling. So like I said, the texture of this dough is actually really important, and I think a good tip for gauging whether it's too dry or too wet is to really take out a piece of dough and then roll it out into a disc and then try folding it, because if it, kind of falls flat, it probably needs a little bit more starch to give it some structure, and if it kind of cracks, it's going to be a little bit too dry. So just, try it without filling it first. And you guys can see I just folded that about 8 to 9 times, just the front, and I left the back alone, and just kind of smushing it back together just to seal this. So here they all look, and they look magnificent and gorgeous, and you can actually freeze these dumplings at this stage and then thaw it out and steam it afterwards if you don't want to eat it all at once. But basically I'm going to put it into a steamer basket, and I'm going to line the basket first with parchment paper that I've cut small holes into. And I actually find that that's pretty necessary because you need a lot of steam to be able to cook this, and you also want the heat to be on high as well. So I'm surprised it only fits 3, but maybe my dumplings are a little bit bigger. So onwards they go into a steamer, and I've put the heat up actually on high. I usually say medium high, but you actually want a very good amount of steam to cook the potato and wheat starch, and it's going to be about 10 minutes on high, like medium high to high, and you can tell when it's done by seeing how translucent the skin has become. So I love this scene because dim sum to me is just like all about steaming hot baskets and really fresh dim sum, and you guys can see that the wrappers have become translucent, and you can see the little bits of pink shrimp peek right through, and they're absolutely delicious and super gorgeous. So I just wanted to give you guys a close-up shot of this, and I am going to try a little bit for myself. I just wanted you guys to see inside the dumplings. There are so many textures involved. Like, you get kind of the soft shrimp paste and the little bits of vegan shrimp that provide like a nice crunch, along with the strips of bamboo, which kind of has this like slightly acidic but like pungentness that I think goes really well with shrimp. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this recipe. I really think that these guys actually taste very close to the real thing, so I'm really happy with the recipe, and I hope you guys try making it. As usual, if you want to see more recipes like this, remember to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys again next time. Bye!